So I'm gonna click run once, and as you can see, we've gotten the meeting transcript and it is creating tasks based on the available meeting notes. So it's using the meeting notes and turning them into ClickUp actions. We're going for meeting transcripts that have zero value into an actual AI agent that thinks and create tasks or comments. Every meeting ends in action items that nobody actually does. Yet meeting note takers have taken over Google Meets and Zoom calls. You got Fathom, you got Fireflies, Noda, ClickUp even has its own note taker, yet none of them turn your meeting notes into actual relevant action plans. Yes, some of them will send you a meeting transcript with some notes and maybe some written bullet points for the next actions, but it's not smart enough to know whether this action is a follow-up on an existing task, a new one with some milestones to tackle, or if it should assign it to this designer or that project manager or this video editor. But this changes today because I'm going to show you how to create an AI agent capable of fetching your latest meeting note as soon as the meeting is ended and turning it into real action plans. Whether it's a new task to create, new comments to append to an existing one, or new subtasks to add, reassign, and plan to the right person. It's basically acting like a real project manager, except it's fully managed by an AI agent. Now, this AI agent is actually part of Agency Master, the full-on methodology we've actually revamped as a version 2.0 now that AI has become way smarter. It's perfect for web agencies because we worked with tons of them, and we went into distilling that into a full-on project system that we set up in ClickUp, combined with AI agents that live here in Make and are capable of triaging your tasks, assigning them, planning them, and chopping them into batches, into sprints of 1 week, so that you have a clear view on your team's capacity without having to hire a project manager. You can literally save hours every month and double your team's capacity with Agency Master. And that's billable time you can charge to your clients. So there's an agency we've worked for recently, and the founder was frustrated because they felt that their action plans were never followed up on, that they had to go after each meeting into the actual tasks, add follow-ups, mention people, and just do everything manually, even though they've talked about basically everything into the meeting. So they wanted to know how to leverage those meeting notes that end up just being follow-up emails into the project tool. And we've built an AI agent for them, capable of capturing their Fathom meeting notes, because that's the actual meeting note tool they were using, and turning them into ClickUp tasks, subtasks, or comments into the right client list. We've built that agent for them, tailored to their own need, and the result for them is insane. What they've told me is that in 4 weeks, they cut on their own project management time by 2 hours, the PM's time by at least 2 hours as well, and every single team member by roughly an hour each. They're a team of 10 people, so that's at least 10 to 15 hours saved every week. And that is a conservative estimate because we are building more agents for them right now. And as we set up the new ones, we're probably gonna bring that to 20, 30, or even 40 hours saved with the same team size. And if you talk about billable time, we're freeing them up at least $4,000 of billable time a month with just this agent. That's $50,000 a year at their billable rate. $50,000 US every year with one single automation I'm gonna show you in this very video. I'm in Make now, and here is how the automation works. You click run once, and it gets the latest meeting transcript and turns it into a task. So from there, it gets the summary of the meeting, the transcript, and it puts that into an AI agent. Make allows to create AI agents, and I've talked about this in other videos. Now, obviously, you could totally use another tool, and A10 also allows to do it. You could even create an AI agent in Cloud Code if you wanted to. But the upside of having it in a visual tool is that you're able to tweak it much faster and with a non-technical person. So it's basically one Make module here that thinks and executes actions here on ClickUp. Obviously, you can have it execute actions on any other project tool. It's not tied to ClickUp. You could have that wired to Monday.com, to Notion, to Jira, or to really any tool you want. You could have your sales ops acting in HubSpot and create tasks in HubSpot. What you can do here is add a tool and look up any tool that make offers. So there's HubSpot CRM, there is Asana if I wanted. What we did with our client is if we identified that the task is a sales task, it goes into their CRM and not into ClickUp. So if it's an operation task, it goes into their delivery space in ClickUp like that. But if it's a sales task, it goes into Go High Level, that's their CRM. So it really depends on your use case. And if you want something more advanced and something custom, book a discovery call with us, and we're happy to understand if it makes sense for you to set up these kinds of agents during a half an hour meeting. So if we see there is a fit, we go further with an actual proposal and set that up for you. And we always save our clients time. That's our motto, saving billable time. The ROI is pretty tangible once you think about it that way, because those hours spent on project management, they're hours you're actually not charging your client. So we free that up, because project management nowadays has become more agentic, and it's not about managing tasks anymore. It's about setting up a brain that's capable of managing tasks so that you can just monitor how it's going and steer that brain again. It's a feedback loop between your agency's operations, the AI agents that work for you, so that you can work faster with the same team. Now I've gone into my rabbit hole of explaining the philosophy of it again, but let's get into the real part, which is building that agent. So as you can see, that agent is capable of creating tasks for you. It's decided that, for example, for this meeting, which we have here as an input, you can see there's a whole meeting transcript. It's decided that there is stuff to create into ClickUp. So there's a few tasks here to create. It's decided to create the task name, content, subtasks, because it's relevant. So I'm gonna give the task ID and look up for it in ClickUp and have it here. It's in Wayne Enterprises, and we have those tasks: scope and write careers page, develop careers page and form, design careers page layout. It's basically a call about a careers page we wanna have and the needs of the client. And it's chopped it down into the right tasks. And it's actually realized that it's part of a main project called Wayne.com, which is a website, and it's actually subtasks of that main project task. So because the project is a task and the different actions are subtasks, it's decided that it should come here and it should be assigned to this person, that person. Scoping has been assigned to the project manager and designing to the designer. So it's actually smart enough to know who to assign that to. And I'm going to show you how everything works step by step. It lists the Fathom meetings. So again, you could literally put any other tool. I'm just going to create one new blank scenario here and show you that. You can go into create scenario and you can pick any other note taker. I think Fireflies has a note taker here that's capable of getting a transcript here. You could also use Microsoft Teams if that's what your company is using. Avoma is also available. TLDV is also available. You can also use Zoom if you wanted. You can use Google Meet as well and have the meeting notes pulling from Google Drive. So you literally can make it work for any workflow. There's a bunch of integrations working. What matters is that this first trigger ideally is a webhook. So a webhook is kind of an alert that lets Make know at any time a meeting is finished, come get the information you need. So this meeting is done, it's 3 p.m. It just sends a message to Make, and Make follows up with getting the transcript, pulling it, making it readable by AI, and following up. So after this step, you basically get the summary of the meeting. So here we have a meeting note. It has its own URL, and then you turn that into a summary. So you're gonna get the recording ID. Very often that's how it's called, the recording ID or transcript ID, and then get that recording ID and pull the summary. Next step, you're gonna get the meeting transcript. That's probably the hardest part to fetch, because a lot of APIs, a lot of integrations split these transcripts into chunks. And the reason behind it is that meeting transcripts can be very long. So you don't wanna have the whole meeting transcript into the response of the API. So what you can do is get those chunks together and stitch them. So you can see there's a bunch of chunks here. They're literally 15 seconds each. They're like small conversations, and you can see who the speaker is here, what they say. You can see the timestamp. So these 3 steps are literally to just get the meeting transcript from whichever tool you're using. Again, some other tools, it can be 2 steps, some other it might be more complex, might be 4, 5, 6 steps. But just know that for Fathom, which is one of the most popular ones, you need to list the recordings, get a summary, and get a transcript. The reason why I want to get the summary before is that I can feed that summary into AI as a digest, so that AI gets context at the top of the prompt and then get the whole transcript below. I feel like that makes AI slightly smarter. So you have a previous AI, the one of the note taker, summarizing the meeting, and then a second AI turning it into actions. I could just let my AI do the job, or I could just use like the action items which the note taker of the AI actually generates, key takeaways, different goals and stuff. But I've realized that very often it's not smart enough, it doesn't have enough context, and also it just doesn't know about what's in your ClickUp. So it doesn't know who's the designer, who's the project manager, it doesn't know about your company and whichever data you want to feed into your smart AI agent. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna feed that data. So after stitching those 2 steps and iterating over the transcript segments, so these are basically all the chunks of every single transcript segment that I've put together, and I've just used the transcript response and put it into a make iterator. It's made to iterate over every single chunk of the transcript. Every single one of those 15 seconds, we're just getting them and waiting for all of them to arrive. When they've all arrived successfully, only then we do aggregate those transcripts into one big text, which is the whole meeting transcript. So that's literally what this does. It gets those hundreds of chunks of our meetings until we say bye-bye here, and just turns that into one big bundle of all the chunks that we've brought together and feeds that into our AI agent. Now, here comes the part I was talking about, making your agent smart. I've talked extensively about how AI agents work in previous videos, but I'm gonna do a little bit of theory again as a reminder. So an AI agent basically works like a human. It needs context, which is knowledge. It needs instructions, which is their role, and it needs tools, which is what they can do. The exact same way you are working with an employee. You give them context about your company, you let them learn, you give them instructions, and you give them tools, their laptop, access to different software, etc. The AI agent is gonna do this exact same thing, and it's gonna follow that very human framework after all. So you need to prepare your knowledge, which is your business info, your conversations, who you are, who works in your company. Then you need to give it instructions. Here's what you are, your project manager, you can do this, you cannot do that, and then give it tools. So it can connect to ClickUp, it can execute some tasks, it can change some statuses, etc., etc. Once you've set that up, you can then set your AI agent. So the Fathom recording of the client call comes in, the team talks through the kickoff, the promo, the video edit, whatever they have to do, whatever topic really. So you basically get that transcript, and then you extract those action items, you let the AI agent do that, and you let it create the tasks, and you let it assign each owner and potentially also the start date, the due date, the assignee, the estimate, and you let it create assigned subtasks if it's relevant, of course. And you've basically gotten yourself an AI agent. Now, how to do it concretely in Make. Make is structured pretty much like what I said. If you hover over that plus here, you can see that Make has knowledge, instructions, which are actually inside of the chat here in the instructions box, and tools. So if you hover here, you have the different tools. You can also use an MCP, which is basically a tool set. It's like all the tools that are available by a provider. ClickUp has its own MCP actually, which lets you do literally anything you want on ClickUp, and you can toggle what you want to turn on and off. You can let the AI do some search, get a task, delete a task, move a task, add tasks to a list. You can let it do a lot of stuff here. That is option A. Option B is what I prefer in terms of tools, is just adding manual tools here one by one into your agent. Why I like to do that? Because it gives a lot more control over what you can let your agent do. And that's always how we set up agents for clients. That way they are more reliable than with an MCP. And one last thing you can do is just chat with your agent, have literally a chat conversation with them from here, from Make if you wanted, but we're not going to do that. Most of agents don't need that chat box. Now let's build our AI agent, and let's start with knowledge. Where I'm gonna get the knowledge from, instead of uploading a document into Make, is putting it into the context here, into the instructions of my agent. What I'm gonna do is get into ClickUp, and I've already prepared a document here called Company and Team Rules. It's made of information about the company, how clients are organized, the team, the assignment rules per task type, working conventions and stuff. So it's a bunch of instructions that enrich the instructions that are a little bit more basic into Make. You could put these instructions into Make, but the reason why we like to put them into an external tool is to let the client manage their own knowledge. What that means is that anyone at the company could come here and add more information. But keep in mind that the more text you give to your AI, the longer the context window is going to be for the AI and the more expensive the AI is going to become. Now, once that is done, you can then move on to the next step, which is putting that knowledge into your AI agent. So what you're going to do is fetch the company and team rules from whichever tool you're using, ClickUp, Notion, whatever, with an API call, get the response and put it here and tell it you are an operations assistant that turns one meeting transcript to the right updates inside ClickUp. You work only from the transcript. So you just prompt it the way you feel like makes the most sense. What we also do for clients is that we have in that prompt an instruction to just tell what you learned from that meeting and add it into the company and team rules. Each time an agent learns something that was not in the team rules already and that it feels it's relevant, it adds it to the team rules. This is pretty cool because it's basically a self-improving AI agent. Now, once you've done that, you can start setting your agent. So you can pick a model. I recommend Gemini as a model nowadays, and 3.5 Flash is actually great value for your money because it is fast, but it's also smart and agentic. You need an agentic model that has reasoning to be able to work with AI agents. You cannot just slap in any basic model that is very, very cheap. If you already have a subscription to an existing AI provider, you can obviously use that subscription. You're not tied to one provider and you can switch the provider at any time from Make. So if you are going with XAI, Grok 4.3, I think, is actually pretty smart. If you are going with OpenAI, you can actually get that done with GPT 5.4 mini. It should be good enough. And if you are going with Anthropic, Haiku or Sonnet could be enough. So it really depends on how smart your agent needs to be, and it depends on your provider. I like Gemini 3.5, I think the right balance. Google is also very often integrated and approved in companies, so that's why I'm using this example, because you probably already have a Google billing account and subscription. And we personally use Gemini a lot because it's great value for money and the costs are ridiculously low. So I'm using Gemini quite heavily at the agency, and our bill for this month is $20, for example. If you run an agent that does that at the end of every meeting, expect to pay no more than $10, $20 a month with the right model size, of course. So then you can pick the reasoning effort. Obviously, that also impacts the cost of every single execution. You can expect every single execution to be between half a cent to a cent of a dollar. So it's ridiculously low. And depending on the effort you put, you can bring it lower or high if you want to just have it a little smarter, but pay a little bit extra. So what I advise you when it comes to picking the model and the reasoning is just play with it. Play with it, see if it works, see if it's smart enough. Sometimes it could come from your prompting. Sometimes it could come from the company and team rules, and sometimes for the model. So you need to play with these three parameters. Once you've done that, you can tell the agent how to work. There's a prompt here to find the client's list, to see what already exists in that client list, and to pull the real action items from that meeting transcript. And for each action item to decide if it should comment on an existing task, create a subtask under an existing task, or if it's a new task that it should create. So you give it a few routes, and I advise you to just steer it in your instructions the best you can so that it doesn't make mistakes once it's calling the different tools. And then assigning every task and subtask. And I'm gonna add something. Also set the start and due date of the tasks in the most appropriate week. Start on Monday and end on Friday. Today is now. I'm just gonna add this instruction because I want the agent to do that task. But if you also wanted to set a custom field based on the rule of values, you can tell it to do that as well. and basically set everything in natural language and give it the right tools. And then you can give it some reliability rules and tell it when done to return some plain text of what it did, just for debugging if you want. Then you can give it the input, which is context. So this is kind of like the prompt, and this is the more context they get. So what they get is a meeting title, the body, the recording, the transcript page, the content, the summary, etc., etc. And as you can see, it's all coming from module 31. And the reason why is that we are not going to use my own meeting transcripts or my client's meeting transcript just out of privacy. I've actually created some dummy meeting transcripts, but you will have to use your own. I've put mine here inside of ClickUp, and we're actually calling out those meeting transcripts that we have here instead of calling the one for Fathom. You can use your actual real meeting transcripts, and then you can move on. So again, reminder, pick your model, pick your reasoning, add some instructions here, and then from there, you can add the input, the title, the recording, the summary, the transcript. So every single thing that can help the agent create the tasks, and then you're good and you can click save. Then we're going to talk about the tools. In terms of tools, we're going to only let the agent do what we want to do. And for this, you need to know the API calls that you need to do to your tool. Because we're using ClickUp here, ClickUp works in hierarchy. We have a space, we have a folder, we have some lists, which are our clients list, and we have a bunch of different tasks in each list. So if I go here, we have tasks and they are assigned to different people, and those tasks can have subtasks. So all of this is harnessed through the API of ClickUp, and you can let the AI do it and do it on its own. So it can decide on which tool to call. So for you to pick the tools, I recommend you to think in terms of what's the mental model of the AI, and that's the trickiest part. So the AI is going to think more or less like how you navigate ClickUp. What you're going to do if you're in ClickUp is you're going to go into a space, then a folder, then a list, open up this list, look at all the tasks, and then decide whether it is a new task or a subtask or just a comment in an existing task, right? So you're basically let the AI do the same. The first thing we're going to let it do is list all the lists. So it's going to find the client list into the folder we give it. We could let the AI pick the folder, obviously, but I want to steer it more. So I know all my clients are in this list. So I've copied that link. I've pulled the ID and I've put it here. In that folder, it's going to return all the lists. So you can see them here: Wayne, Monsters, Daily Planet, all the ones I've shown you. And then from those lists, it's going to decide to get the tasks in one of them. So we're going to let the AI decide with the list ID for which it wants to get the task. And then from there, it's going to decide whether it wants to get more information about a task or create a task or a subtask or post a comment. So we're basically giving it 5 tools: the ability to view all the lists, view all those tasks in the list, create a task, add a comment, or know more about a task. You really need to use that mental model of what do I do in ClickUp, turn it into tools. What do I do in Notion, turn it into tools. What do I do into Asana, turn it into tools. So it really depends on how the API of that tool is made, how you navigate that tool, and your experience. Obviously, we know about AI agents, so if that feels already overwhelming for you, you can book a discovery call with us at Upsys, and we'll be happy to get to understand what you need to build it for you, train you on how to use it, and obviously monitor that agent for you and create new ones way further down the road. We can see if we can help you save you time and create billable time for your clients in your agency with ClickUp or any other tool and AI agents. But if you're done already and you mastered all these steps, congratulations, and you can go on to starting your agents. So what I'm going to do, because I've run the previous agent on another page context, I'm just going to change the actual transcript. It's just a value to change here. And for this, I'm going to use another meeting transcript. We're going to use that weekly stand-up, for example. So we have a stand-up here. I'm going to copy the link, paste it here, and just going to use that little ID in the end. So all it's going to do, the only difference is instead of getting that meeting with Wayne, it's going to get a new meeting with a company called Daily Planet that we have here. And let's see if the AI is smart enough to know that after that meeting, we need to clean up the subscription test result. We need to do a few more things. Good enough. The CMS. Okay. Flush out all the small talk and all the goodbye and stuff, and just actually create tasks. So what I'm going to do is click run once. And obviously here the trigger is Fathom, but we're actually going to use the transcript. It's just like you'd have to chunk up this module if you were to use it for you. So the AI is gonna execute its thoughts and just like list clients in list, get the tasks in that list. You can see it's doing that. It's basically acting like us, like a human, and deciding where should I set that up. And from there, it's decided it needs to get more context about a task. Okay, I like that. And then it's probably gonna post some comments and create some tasks because we have some actions after that meeting. It's decided to post a comment on some existing tasks. We have them here. The front page layout refresh has been approved. All right, so I could get back into ClickUp and get that task context, which we have here. Front page layout refresh has been approved by the clients, ready to ship. If I wanted to assign it to someone, I could also let the AI know that they always have to assign their comments. And then from there, it's also decided it should create a task or a subtask, and it's created a few of them. If we get back here and refresh our ClickUp list, we should see those new subtasks and tasks arriving. Here we have them. Draft about the newsroom page copy. It's decided that it's a subtask of the content and preparation galleries, and it set the due date to today to Friday. So as you can see here, the assignee has been set, the start date, the due date, and we have description. So AI has basically acted as a PM and started creating actions in the right context, in the right list, in the right task and subtask in ClickUp. And if you think about it, it's probably something you already do or your project manager should already do in your company. It literally takes half an hour to an hour to do it well at the end of a meeting. Think of all the meetings you have internally or with clients every week. Setting up that automation will literally change the way you work in your agency and will literally save every single of your team members 2 to 4 hours weekly. That is thousands of dollars turned into billable client hours. Because let's be honest, nobody likes project management. Nobody likes to assign tasks, to follow up with comments, set start dates, due dates, and everyone just wants to focus on getting their work done, getting the creative part done, getting the operational part done. That's where the value is. That's where you have fun. That's when you serve clients, that when you actually work on creating that website, on shooting those videos, on crafting those dashboards for your clients, on crafting those blog posts, those newsletters for your clients, on helping them create value and make more money. So if you're a web-based agency, you want to set up one of these automations. You probably already have a note taker. You can plug that in into your favorite project tool, whether it's Fathom, ClickUp, Asana, you name it, whatever tool, you can do it. And if you don't want to do it yourself, you have two options. Either you go for Agency Master, which is a full-on template on how to set up your agency with a clear system set up in ClickUp and a set of key AI agents instructed with full blueprints and instructions and guides on how to set them up so that you'll literally save hours every week in your agency and double its delivery. You can buy it down below. The link is down there. And if you have more budget and you don't want to bother setting things up yourself, you can just book a discovery call with us and we'll be happy to help you out if that makes sense at Upsys. And until then, stay productive.